BBC News. Hello, I'm Tom Watts. Britain and the US have announced plans to deliver coronavirus vaccines to some of the world's poorest countries in the next few weeks. Speaking ahead of the G7 meeting, the British Prime Minister Boris Johnson said the UK would donate 100 million doses over the coming year. Earlier, President Biden promised 500 million Pfizer jabs to fight against the pandemic. Here's our political correspondent, Rob Watson.
The British hosts of this first G7 summit since the global pandemic began are understandably making the pandemic's defeat the focus of the gathering. So it's likely there will be more offers of help to vaccinate the world from the leaders assembling here after the US President Joe Biden's pledge of 500 million doses on the eve of the summit. Many of the leaders, including Britain's Prime Minister Boris Johnson, have talked of the need to prevent further pandemics.
The new head of Amnesty International has accused the UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres of failing in his mandate. In a BBC interview, Agnes Callamard strongly criticised Mr Guterres for his stance on the repression of Uyghur Muslims in China's Xinjiang province.
He has not denounced the situation. He has not called for an international investigation. So, in my view, in the view of Amnesty International, the Secretary General of the UN is failing. It is incumbent upon him not to stay silent in front of crimes against humanity.
Amnesty International's latest report on Xinjiang says mass internment and torture are common, and detainees are subjected to beatings, electric shocks and exposure to extreme cold. 3 days before the scheduled start of South America's most prestigious football tournament, the Copa America, the Supreme Court in Brazil has decided the event can go ahead. Judges met to consider a request to block the competition because of the pandemic. Leonardo Rocha reports.
A majority of Supreme Court judges has ruled against the two requests, which argue that hosting a major international tournament would endanger the lives of thousands of people. The judges expressed their dismay at President Jair Bolsonaro's last-minute decision to stage the competition, but said that the Brazilian constitution didn't give the court the power to block it. Brazil only agreed to host the Copa America last week after Argentina pulled out because of a rise in infections there. Colombia had already been removed as co-host because of mass anti-government protests.
The wife of the jailed Mexican drug lord Joaquin El Chapo Guzman has pleaded guilty to drug trafficking and money laundering charges. Emma Coronel appeared in court in Washington and admitted her involvement in operations of the Sinaloa cartel. As part of a plea bargain agreement, she also admitted she helped her husband escape through a tunnel from a Mexican prison in 2015. A leading opposition activist in Algeria, Karim Tabou, has been detained just ahead of parliamentary elections due on Saturday. Mr Tabou became prominent during mass demonstrations 2 years ago that forced the resignation of the long-standing president, Abdelaziz Bouteflika. Since February, thousands of people have returned to the streets, accusing the authorities of targeting journalists and opposition politicians in the run-up to Saturday's vote. A new study has found almost half the plastic polluting the seas comes from takeaway food and drinks. Scientists from the University of Cadiz in Spain analysed 12 million pieces of litter found in waters across the world. They said they were surprised such a high proportion was made up of plastic bottles, knives, forks, food containers and wrappers. Starbucks says it's experiencing shortages of ingredients in the United States as demand soars and supply chains are stretched by the reopening of the economy. Will Leonardo reports.
Starbucks is the latest US firm to complain of supply problems as coronavirus restrictions are lifted. The coffee chain, long a staple of American high streets, says oat milk is among the items affected. A report citing an internal company memo suggests there are problems sourcing up to 25 key ingredients. For weeks now, customers have been complaining on social media that their favourite items had run out, from drink syrups to baked goods. Starbucks employees too have been expressing frustration at having to explain the shortages and surprise at how quickly demand has roared back.
The video game firm EA says it's been targeted by hackers who've stolen valuable software. It said the source code for FIFA 21, part of its hugely popular football game franchise, had been taken. EA's statement came in response to Vice News reporting cybercriminals were trying to sell the software on the dark web. The company said there was no reason to believe players' data had been compromised by the attack. BBC News.